Harriet Brant, meanwhile, sitting almost opposite to the stranger, was regarding him from under the thick lashes of her slumberous eyes, like a lynx watching its prey. She had never seen so good-looking and aristocratic a young man before. His crisp golden hair and drooping mustaches, his fair complexion, blue eyes, and chiseled features were a revelation to her. Would the princess whom Madame Gobeli had promised, she should meet at her house be anything like him? She wondered, could they be as handsome and as perfectly dressed, as fashionable, as completely at their ease as the man before her? Every other moment she was stealing a veiled glance at him, and Captain Pullen was quite aware of the fact. What young man or woman is not aware when they're being furtively admired? Ralph Pullen was one of the most conceited of his sex, which is not saying a little. He was a comble with female attention wherever he went. Yet he was not blasé with them so long as he was not called upon to reciprocate in kind. Each time that Harriet's magnetic gaze sought his face, his eyes, by some mystical chance, were lifted to meet it, and through all four lids were modestly drooped again, their owners did not forget the effect their encounter had left behind it. "Have you a round iced yet, Captain Pullen?" vociferated Madame Gobeli, "and met the procession? I never saw such rubbish in my life. I laughed fit to burst myself. A lot of children rigged out in blue and white, carrying a doll on a stick, and a crowd of fools following and singing hymns. Call that religion? It's all tommy-rot. Don't you agree with me, Mrs. Pullen?" "I cannot say that I do, madame. I have been taught to respect every religion that is followed with sincerity, whether I agree with its doctrine or not. Besides, I thought the procession you allude to a very pretty sight. Some of the children with their fair hair and wreaths of flowers looked like little angels." "Oh, you're an humbug!" exclaimed the Baroness. "You say that just to please these papists. Not that I wouldn't just as soon be a papist as a Protestant, but I can't. And I wouldn't have Bobby here brought up in any religion. Let him choose for himself when he's a man, I said. But no, can't. No humbug. I had a governess for him once, a dirty little sneak, who thought she'd get the better of me, so she made the boy kneel down each night and say, 'God bless father and mother and all kinds of friends, and God bless my enemies,' and I came upon him one evening, and I had him up on his legs in a moment. 'I won't have it, Bobby,' I said. 'I won't have you telling lies for anyone.' And I made him repeat after me, 'God bless father and mother and all their kind friends, and damn me enemies.' The governess was so angry with me that she gave warning. He, he, he! But I had my way, and Bobby hasn't had a prayer since. Have you, Bobby?" "Sometimes, mamma," replied the lad in a low voice. Margaret Pullen's kind eyes sought his at once with an encouraging smile. "Well, you better not let me hear you, or I'll give you what for. I hate humbug. Don't you, Captain Pullen?" "Unreservedly, madam," replied Ralph in stifled voice, with the inflamed countenance. He had been trying to conceal his amusement for some time past, greatly to the disgust of Miss Layton, who would have had him pass by his opposite neighbor's remarks in silent contempt, and the effort had been rather trying. As he spoke, his eyes sought those of Harriet Brant again, and, discovering the sympathy with his distress lurking in them, coupled with a very evident look of admiration for himself, he looked back at her again. Only one look, but it spoke volumes. Captain Pullen had never given such a glance at his fiancée, nor received one from her. It is problematical if Eleanor Layton could make a telegraph of her calm brown eyes, if her soul, if indeed she had in that sense a soul at all, ever pierced the bounds of its dwelling-place to look through its windows. As the dessert appeared, Margaret whispered to her brother-in-law, "If we do not make her escape now, we may not get rid of her all evening," at which hint he rose from the table, and the trio left the salon de manger together. As Margaret descended again, equipped for their evening stroll, she perceived Harriet Brant in the corridor also ready, and waiting apparently for her. She took her aside at once. "I cannot ask you to join us for our evening walk this evening, Miss Brant," she said, "because, as it is the first day of my brother's arrival, I shall naturally have many family topics to discuss together." For the first time since their acquaintance, she observed a sullen look creep over Harriet Brant's features. "I am going to go walk with the Baron and Baroness, thank you all the same," she replied to Margaret's remark, and turning on her heel, she re-entered her room. Margaret did not believe her statement, but she was glad she had the courage to warn her, and she knew it would have greatly annoyed Eleanor if the girl that she detested had accompanied them on their first evening. The walk proved, after all, to be a very ordinary one. They paraded up and down the Dague until they were tired, and then they sat down on green chairs and listened to the orchestra, while Ralph smoked his cigarettes. Eleanor was looking her best. She was pleased and mildly excited. Her costume became her, and she was presumably enjoying herself. But as far as her joy in Captain Pullen went, she might have been walking with her father or her brother. The conscious looks that had passed between him and Harriet Brant were utterly wanting. They began by talking of home, of Eleanor's family, and the last news that Margaret had received from Arthur, and then went on to discuss the visitors to the hotel. Miss Layton waxed loudly in her denunciation of the Baroness and her familiar vulgarity. She deplored the ill fate that had placed them in such close proximity at the Table Hotel, and hoped that Ralph would not hesitate to change his seat if the annoyance became too great. She had warned him, she said, that of what he might expect by joining them at Heist. "My dear girl," he replied, "pray don't distress yourself. In the first place, I know a great deal more about foreign hotels than you do, and knew exactly what I might expect to encounter. And in the second, I don't mind it in the least. In fact, I like it. It amuses me. I think the Baroness is quite a character, and look forward to cultivating her acquaintance with the keenest of anticipations." "Oh, Ralph, pray don't," exclaimed Miss Layton fastidiously. "The woman is beneath contempt. I should be exceedingly annoyed if you permitted her to get at all intimate with you." "Why not, if it amuses him?" demanded Margaret, laughing. "For my part, I agree with Ralph that her very vulgarity makes her most amusing as a change, and it is not as if we were likely to be thrown in her way when we return to England." "She is a rara avis," cried Captain Pullen enthusiastically. She certainly must know some good people if men like Nugget and Menzies have been at her house, and yet the way she advertises her boots and shoes is too delicious. Oh, dear, yes, I cannot consent to cut Baroness Goblet. I am half in love with her already." Eleanor Layton made a gesture of disgust. "And you, who are considered to be one of the most select and fastidious men in town," she said, "I wonder at you." Then he made a bad matter worse by saying, "By the way, Margaret, who was that beautiful girl who sat on the opposite side of the table?" "The what?" exclaimed Eleanor Layton ungrammatically, as she turned around upon the Dague and confronted him. "He means Mrs. Brant," interposed Margaret hastily. "Many people think she is handsome." "No one could think otherwise," responded Ralph. "Is she Spanish?" "Oh, no, her parents were English. She comes from Jamaica." "Ah, a drop of Creole blood in her, then, I dare say. You never see such eyes in an English face." "What's the matter with her eyes?" asked Eleanor sharply. "They're very large and dark, you know, Eleanor," said Mrs. Pullen, observing the cloud which was settling down upon the girl's face. "But it is not to everyone who admires dark eyes, or you or I would come off badly." "Well, with all due deference to you, my fair sister-in-law," replied Ralph, with the stupidity of a selfish man who never knows when he is wounding his hearers, "most people give the preference to dark eyes in women. Anyway, Miss Brant, if that is her name, is a beauty, and make no mistake." "I can't say that I admire your taste," said Eleanor, "and I sincerely hope that Miss Brant will not force her company upon us whilst you are here. Margaret and I have suffered more than enough already in that respect. She is only half educated, and knows nothing of the world, and is altogether a most uninteresting companion. I dislike her exceedingly." "Ah, don't forget her singing," cried Margaret unwittingly. "Does she sing?" demanded the captain. "Yes, and wonderfully well for an amateur. She plays the mandolin also. I think Eleanor is a little hard on her. Of course, she is very young and uninformed, but she has only just come out of a convent where she has been educated for the last 10 years. What can you expect of a girl who has never been out in society? I know that she is very good-natured and has waited on baby as if she had been her servant. Don't you think that don't you think we have had about enough of Miss Harriet Brant? Said Eleanor. I want to hear what Ralph thinks of Heist, or if he advises our going on to Ostend. I believe Ostend is much gayer and brighter than Heist. But we must now wait until Dr. Philip joins us, interposed Margaret. He could come after us if Ralph preferred Ostend or Blankenberg, said Eleanor eagerly. My dear ladies, exclaimed Captain Pullen, allow me to form an opinion of Heist first, and then we will talk about other places. This seems pleasant enough in all conscience to me now. Oh, you two are bound to think any place pleasant, laughed Margaret, but I think I must go in to my baby. I do not feel easy to be away from her too long, now that she is ailing. But there is no need for you to come in, Eleanor. It is only just 9 o'clock. I would rather accompany you, replied Miss Layton primly. No, Eleanor, stay with me. If you are tired, we can sit in the balcony. I have seen nothing of you yet, remonstrated her lover. She consented to sit in the balcony with him for a few minutes, but she would not permit his chair to be placed too close to hers. The waiters pass back and forth, she said, and what would they think? The deuce take what they think, replied Captain Pullen. I haven't seen you for 2 months, and you keep me at arm's length as if I should poison you. What do you suppose a man is made of? My dear Ralph, you know that it is nothing of the kind, but it is quite impossible that we can sit side by side like a pair of turtle doves in a public hotel like this. Let us go up to your room, then? To my bedroom? She ejaculated with horror. To Margaret's room, then. She won't be so prudish, I'm sure. Anywhere where I can speak to you alone. The nurse will be in Margaret's room with little Ethel. Hang it all, then. Come for another walk. Let us go away from the town out into those sand hills. I'm sure no one will see us there. Dear Ralph, you must be reasonable. If I were seen walking about Heist alone with you at night, it would be all over town tomorrow. Let it be. Where's the harm? I have kept our engagement most scrupulously secret. No one knows anything but that you are Margaret's brother-in-law. You don't know how they gossip and chatter in a place like this. I would never consent to appear in the public table hotel again if I thought that all those vulgarians had been discussing my most private affairs.